this is personal brand strategy, but it's taking it to the next level, because I found my clients would do the work on themselves. They would figure out their values. They would work out who they were going to help. They would work out their messaging, but they didn't have a way to live by it. And this is my solution to that.
Hi, and welcome to the Driven Female Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Melitta Campbell, award-winning business coach, value whisperer, and founder of the Dream Clients Blueprint, your step-by-step guide to communicating your true value with confidence and attracting more of your dream clients. Each week on this show, I bring you tried and tested techniques and advice from my own experiences and those of other successful women in business. Our goal is to help you confidently dream bigger and achieve more in your business and in life. Today, I'm excited to welcome back Fifi Mason to the show. Fifi is the Introverts Impact Coach. She inspires quiet introverts to find their voice, get visible, and confidently share their ideas with the world. However, through her work, she's noticed that too many people are self-silencing, holding themselves back when they want and deserve to move forward. She first talked about this on the Dream Clients Summit earlier in the spring, and since then she's put all her wisdom and a collection of exercises to help people stop self-silencing in a book, which launches, drumroll, this week. So be sure to go and check out her book, Stop Self-Silencing, on Amazon, and take her quiz to discover exactly how you might be self-silencing right now, and maybe even without realizing it. All the links are in the show notes. You'll find those below or at melittacampbell.com/podcast, and just search Fifi in the box there. But before you go and check those out, listen to Fifi talking about self-silencing and her impact rules. Welcome, Fifi. It's great to have you back on the podcast with us today. I'd love it if you could start by sharing your story with the audience. How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, so I started my journey as a freelancer in branding and website design. And my first year of business was really great. It was a very successful year in just getting started. But by maybe like a year or so in, I had this moment of realization that I was attracting all the wrong kinds of clients and would be left in tears because of it, and just not enjoying what I was doing anymore. And what I recognized was that was because I wasn't showing up, I wasn't being myself in my business, and it just made my life a lot more difficult because I wasn't being true to myself. So I really went on this self-discovery journey of developing my personal brand, to figure out how I wanted to show up and who I wanted to help the most, and just figure out my purpose. And after going through that process, I came to the realization that I wanted to help introverted business owners and now introverted coaches to show up and stand out in a way that aligns with them. So yeah, that's briefly my story.
Yeah, I love that. And when you work with the wrong clients, it just has this negative effect on your business and on yourself. As you said, you ended up in tears sometimes, and I get it. I felt exactly the same in my first business. With certain clients, they were just so much more effort than they were. I came away feeling drained, doubting myself. It just didn't feel good. But since finding those right fit clients and working exclusively with them, it really feels so different, and I can show up so much more powerfully every day in my business. How did that feel for you once you shifted? You had your new personal brand and you were out there being yourself, attracting your dream clients in. What was that shift for you?
I found it a lot more energizing. And this comes back to what I later figured out. There is like a difference in your physical and mental energy and your metaphysical energy. And I found that when I start to do the things I really enjoy, I get energized from it as well, which being introverted is helpful, because there's so many things that are draining and exhausting when it comes to socializing and interacting with clients and all those kinds of things, but doing something that I love and knowing that I'm doing what I should be doing and it feels so aligned. I'm working with great people. It just gives you that energy because you're doing something that you completely enjoy and you're passionate about, and it just lights you up and it sets that fire in you, basically.
I couldn't agree more. And it stops feeling like work, and it just feels like something that you're passionate about the whole time. When you're working in that zone where you're loving everything you're doing, every way you're showing up, everyone you're working with, you just can't quite put words to that feeling, I think. So you decided when you went back and you were going to start working with introverted business owners. Now, you're clearly an introvert yourself. You've mentioned that. But was that an obvious choice to make that distinction? Was it easy to think, oh, I'm going to just limit myself to introverts?
Anytime that someone decides to niche down and find a very narrow audience of people, it can be terrifying because you think, oh, I'm going to end up putting other people off that could be potential clients. And when you're in that phase of your business that you feel like you will take anything. And that's where I was in that first year. I think most of us go through that phase of we will take any piece of work because we need the money and we need that security. So it gets quite hard to say no to clients and then to actively put yourself out there and be kind of limiting yourself is a scary, terrifying thing to do. But when you do find your people and find your place, that is when all of these opportunities come your way. You would think it would close doors, but it doesn't. It opens up doors and people resonate and respond with you even more.
Yeah, that's 100% been my experience as well. So I'm really pleased that you touched on that, because you say it is scary. It does feel like you're closing doors to so many people, but it's not the reality at all. But you mentioned there, and it made me smile, a very narrow audience. It was like, actually, introverts, there's a lot more of us than you think.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that narrow after all.
Yeah, you could get a lot more narrow.
Exactly. And let's move on to this topic of self-silencing. Can you tell us a little bit about what is it exactly? Because I think when people listen to this, they're going to go, oh, that.
Yes, definitely. So self-silencing is the term I use to describe how we don't speak out, how we dismiss our ideas, our opinions, our perspectives, and keep ourselves from being authentic for fear of the consequences, basically. And I came to this realization of self-silencing quite recently in just using it as the term to describe what I have been trying to focus on more with my clients. And the reason that came about is because I went back and did some work on my why again. I know you talk about figuring out your why. So hopefully those here will understand a little bit of that. But I have a question that I use with my clients, and I decided to do it to myself again, go through the process again. And when I talk about why, it's the deeper why behind what you do, your purpose. So not the surface level of I want to make more money, I want to have flexibility in my life. It's that real deep down purpose why. And the question I use to help my clients figure this out is, what did you see in the world that you wanted to change? And so I asked myself this question recently and realized that it had shifted ever so slightly to how I have noticed how important it is for everyone to have a voice. So that's in life, in business, in society. And I see quiet, introverted individuals, business owners, life coaches, people who want to make a difference in the world and transform lives, but they're holding themselves back. They have ideas, they have perspectives, they have opinions that we actually need in the world. And so my mission has kind of shifted now to help them find their voice, to move past that discomfort and stop self-silencing themselves and to start showing up. And really, there's nothing stopping us but ourselves when it comes to this. Specifically, it's a problem for introverts because we tend to be the quieter ones. We are inward focused and we have more challenges when it comes to showing up and being visible because it's not our natural way of being. So that is why I've shifted my focus to helping specifically with self-silencing and showing up and getting visible. So today I want to share with everyone the 5 main reasons we self-silence and how we can start speaking up more.
I love that on so many levels. How can our clients trust us to show up and deliver for them if we can't communicate that? If we're not showing that we have this path, we have the solution for them. And then other people who do speak up and don't have a product that's as good are the ones that get all the business. And that's really frustrating. And we're really letting people down if we don't speak up. But I know for myself, and you know my story very well as well, that it's taken me years to get to the point where I was speaking up more and speaking on stages and networking with confidence. It didn't come easily at all. And it's why I started my podcast to push me to speak on a regular basis so that I can maintain that habit. But it takes courage. So yeah, I'm really curious to hear, what are these 5 things that we need to be aware of that we can start to recognize perhaps that we're self-silencing and do something a bit different, or have that little bit of courage? Because sometimes it just takes that, Trish on the podcast spoke about, that 60 seconds of insane courage. That's all it takes to take that first step and then follow through. So yeah, shoot, what's the first one?
Okay, yeah. So we'll go through the 5 reasons you might be self-silencing. And I'm going to try and describe it in a way that those listening will recognize, because I could say it as the fear of rejection. And how do you relate to that? So I'm going to explain specific ways of self-silencing to help those listening recognize in themselves that they're doing this. So the first one is you're terrified of sharing more about yourself, your views, and your business because of what people you care about most, whether that's your friends, your family, your colleagues, your peers, your clients, for fear of what they might think or say.
Yes.
This is a big one, because you've got that constant worry of the opinions of those who matter most to you. And it really traps you in this never-ending cycle of self-doubt and anxiety about putting yourself out there. So that is the first one.
Yeah. As I say, all I can say is yes to that. I've been there. You've been. I think all of my clients have been there. And I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons why I hear people hesitating about going online on social media, because then suddenly everyone sees them. Their neighbors see them. The mums at the school gate will see you and they may be judging you. And that's like terrifying. It's like, well, what if they think my opinions are rubbish? Or what if they think I'm wrong? Or what if someone can disprove what I'm thinking? Or what if I say all of this and then I fail in my business and everyone's going to laugh at me? I mean, there are so many reasons behind this. I think it's a huge one. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually going to get into some of those in this as well, but specifically, this is worrying about how your friends and family might change their perspective of you, in a sense. So by sharing your opinions, your ideas, they're going to change their view of you because of it. And I think that's a really important thing to notice and realize is what is holding you back.
Exactly. And once we know what's holding us back, we can start to challenge that a little bit and say, well, is that true? Yeah. How do I know that's true? If that did happen, does that matter? Can I handle it? So yeah, it's great having that awareness.
So the second one is one that I struggled with a lot when I first started out, and still today can find it difficult. So you feel responsible for other people's feelings, even if it means sacrificing your own growth and success.
And I think we learn this at such a young age. I caught my daughter, who is 13, saying exactly that the other day. There was something she didn't do in case it upset a friend of hers. And it was just such a tenuous link. Glennon Doyle talks about how we've got to try and disappoint people, because if we're not disappointing people, then we're not living into what we believe, what we want.
And I will expand on it a little bit more. So we feel responsible for other people's feelings, but if you put that into context of your business, it is more you're afraid of being too promotional or expressing ideas that don't align with someone else, and that will upset them. So we are taking responsibility of how someone on the other end of the social media platform, whichever one it is, on LinkedIn or Facebook, we're taking responsibility for how they feel when they see something that we've put out there. If it's in some way salesy, we might worry that they're going to think, oh, they're trying to sell to me. And we have these things in the back of our minds, and we hold ourselves back in sharing that because we worry that it's going to put them off or upset them in some way. So from that perspective, potentially introverts might struggle more because it's being very overly promotional, and we're not that keen on being promotional or putting ourselves out there and being in the spotlight as such.
I've got another example of a client that had something similar to this, and maybe it's another one of your points, but it kind of feels like it's aligned with this one as well. And that's this almost survivor guilt. So her business did really well during COVID, but she felt so guilty about that because she knew so many other business owners didn't, that she didn't talk about her success. She didn't own it. She wasn't celebrating it. And she was almost trying to hide it a little bit. But then that impacted the way she felt about her business as well. And her business started to decline because she was trying to kind of hide it a little bit.
Yeah, well, that is definitely the same thing. It's feeling responsible for other people's feelings and sacrificing your own growth and success because of it. So yeah.
That was definitely what she was doing, sacrificing her growth for sure. Yeah. Fascinating. So what's number 3?
So number 3 is you often feel that your thoughts, ideas, and opinions are insignificant and won't make a difference to anyone.
Yes, so much. I've got this little, it's kind of an app. You get it through Facebook Messenger, and you can sign up for these daily little messages. And it's just a tiny little quote, just 2 lines saying, have you thought of this today? Or how are you feeling about that? Just something to give people a bit of inspiration. And she snapshotted it and put it on LinkedIn and said, wow, this was transformational for me today. And it was just the simplest of tips. And I love it when we learn that these simple insights are actually the big things for people in business, and to share those. But yeah, for a long time, I didn't put these things out there. But then I realized from that experience of daring to share these little bits and seeing it can impact other people in a big way as well. I don't know if you've had the same, where you shared something that was actually quite small, but it had a real big impact on someone else.
Yeah, I mean, every email I send, I get someone who replies, and sometimes they're so heartwarming and they're just, I needed to hear this today. I'm really struggling with this. And they are using it as an opportunity to talk about something that's going on with them. And it's really helpful. And without me sending that email, they wouldn't have had that opportunity and that realization. So it's such a small thing to do, but you are impacting people's lives every time you do it. And it's that fear of being overlooked and unheard. And it knocks your confidence in your ability to contribute to the world. And then you're missing out on those opportunities to inspire people.
Absolutely. I think if we flip that around and see how we get inspired by other people, it often is the little things and the personal things that they share about, well, I struggled with this, but then this happened, and you can connect with that and feel a little less alone or weird or whatever. So yeah, I love that one.
And when we share those things, we can connect on a deeper level. So we should be doing that, definitely.
Oh, these are juicy. So what's the next one?
Okay, so number 4 is you worry about being challenged or questioned on your ideas and fear that you won't be able to defend yourself effectively.
Oh, this is a big one. My client is a speaker coach, and this is one of the biggest fears that he has with his clients, is that they don't want to present because they'll put something out there and then people will ask questions and they're like, but what if I can't answer them? Yeah.
It's that anxiety of being proven wrong or appearing foolish, and it knocks your confidence, or it stops you from wanting to assert yourself and actually share things that might be more, not controversial, that's not the right word, but more thought-provoking and more like a differing opinion that you might have compared to others. You would be so worried to share that because people might start questioning you, and how are you supposed to back that up and argue your corner if you're not feeling so confident about it? So you have this worry that being challenged and being questioned on those things is something that might happen, so you just don't share it in the first place. So
yeah, when I worked in corporate, I was doing leadership coaching around communication, and I would say at least 50% of the top 60 leaders that I was working with didn't have team meetings for that exact reason. They were terrified that someone would call them out or ask them a question they couldn't answer. But I was like, but actually, that's good. You don't have to have all the answers. You can start a conversation around it. Well, that's interesting. Why do you say that? Or I don't know the answer to that. Do you? It's really not the end of the world if you don't have the answers, but sometimes you don't feel that way.
Yeah, definitely. A way of approaching that is just to always be curious. That is one thing that I always tend to try to do. And rather than being set in stone with an opinion, it's opening up conversations around things. And that's a very small baby step into sharing things about yourself that you might feel could be challenged, but at least you're exploring the idea and starting to talk about it. And then you can formulate your ideas, get clear on them, so that when people do question you, you're very confident in that you could argue from your point of view. So yeah,
I think stories are really powerful in this respect, aren't they? So you can share a story around an experience, and that's why you had that, and ask someone, well, what's your story? Let's understand your perspective, because sometimes being challenged on your ideas isn't a bad thing. Sometimes we have missed something that can make it even stronger and better. So we do want to stay open, but yeah, we don't like to feel that we're wrong, or or that we're going to get a bad grade or be called into the headmaster's office, that kind of thing. It's still this fear that we have, isn't it? It's completely silly.
Well, this ties into the final one, and that is you often imagine people laughing at you or not taking you seriously, and that is going to leave you isolated and alone.
That was my biggest fear when I started my first business, that not necessarily that people would laugh exactly, but that people wouldn't take me seriously, because I was trying to start a business and I had a baby. And I'd seen it so often in the corporate world. Women had come back into an office with a child and people hadn't taken them seriously anymore. Their credibility had changed. And I thought, that's going to be the first question all my clients are going to ask. Well, how can you do this when you're bouncing a baby under your desk? And nobody ever asked, not once. That if I had let that fear stop me, I wouldn't be here today. I would never have got my business started.
Yeah, like not being taken seriously. I mean, in our mind, we kind of go to the extreme that you'll be ostracized and that people won't want to know you anymore. It's the fear of rejection still, isn't it? And it becomes this bigger thing in your own head than it actually is.
Yeah. And I think if you are pivoting or moving into an industry for the first time and you don't have that kind of track record yet, then I guess this could be quite strong. And I guess it's very easy then to say, there's no space for me. I'll just stay here in the background quietly and keep my fingers crossed that some clients will come my way. But of course, business doesn't work that way.
Yes, exactly.
So how do we stop this? How do we stop this self-silencing?
Okay, so I did talk about the 3 Bs in our recent podcast, but I call this the visibility pillars. And I need to describe these a little bit before I get into the powerful tool that I want to share today, which could help you with this. And so these are the 3 things that we lack or that we need to overcome the discomfort and stop self-silencing. And that is belief, balance, and belonging. So for those who haven't heard that podcast, I'll just briefly explain it. It was belief is knowing your values, knowing your boundaries, and knowing what you stand for. Then balance is know your capabilities, know your energy, and know your focus, what you're going to focus on. And belonging is know your purpose, know your place, and know your people. And knowing these is going to help you have clarity, confidence, and consistency, and be consistent in your business. And the powerful tool to help you in this and to help you create boundaries, to get clear on each of these, is by crafting what I call impact rules. So there are 3 types of rules, and these are the rules that you follow for how you show up in the world. They are your outlook, your approach, and kind of like a guide or your compass. And these are the rules that I help my clients create. So going through a personal brand journey, it involves figuring out your values, figuring out what you stand for. It's figuring out how you're going to focus on what your abilities are, and also knowing who you're going to help the most. All of those things accumulate into these impact rules to help guide you and give you direction. So principal rules is the first of the 3, and this is your outlook, your ideas, and it really covers everything that you need to have belief in yourself, to have that confidence. I'm going to share a few of my rules, and then they will help explain how I've crafted them, and then maybe you can question me on a few of them. So one of my first rules is speak up for what you believe in, even if it goes against popular opinion. And that is very much my values in one rule. All of my values rolled into one.
And I like that one because when I did this in my corporate career, and there were certain things I thought, I will stand up for these things, I'm going to let these things slide. But when I did stand up and say something that I felt was going against popular opinion, every single time, I can't think of a single time when it didn't happen, but every time someone else was like, yes, thank God you've said that, because other people are thinking it. If you are feeling, so hold on a minute, someone's crossing the line here, or this important point is being missed. Everyone's talking about this, but hold on, why is no one talking about this thing here and stepping into that? Other people, then it gives them permission to come and support that as well, because as we've heard, a lot of us are self-silencing. So in having that voice, we have a voice for other people as well, and we bring them into that. And yeah, if we feel something is not being said, it's important to say it, because we won't be alone for sure.
Yeah, and the idea of these rules is that you write the rules that fit your own values and your own way of approaching things. And so for me, my values are authenticity, purpose, and freedom. And this is all of that in one. For me, it's speaking up for what you believe in, even if it goes against popular opinion. And so I'm being authentic. I'm standing up for what I believe in. That feels like my purpose to me right now. And even if it goes against popular opinion, because I believe in freedom and freedom of speech. And so it kind of encapsulates all of that in one rule that I can live by every day. So that is the idea behind these rules.
Yeah. And I guess it's about living those values. It's setting the parameters around those values and making it clear, well, how do I know I'm being true to my values, true to myself, true to the brand, true to my clients and the impact I'm trying to create here. And when you do that consistently, people trust you. Even if they don't agree with you, they will still trust you. You'll still build that credibility. There are people out there that we all admire, even if we don't align with what they're saying, because they are so consistent. We know who they are and we can rely on them to be a certain way. We want to be someone that is seen as trustworthy, someone that our clients can rely on. Particularly if you're a coach or a life coach, as you support, people need to be able to trust you with their story, with their vulnerability, so you can actually help people. I was talking about sales mindset just last night, and the first part of that is building this connection. And it's so important. And it's hard to build that connection if you have this disconnect in your values. So I love these impact rules. I think they're so impactful.
Yeah, it's really encapsulating and embodying your values for your principal rules and what you stand for. So I have some more that are my principal rules. I have: don't let people you don't know or who don't know you hold you back. That encapsulates my outlook, my ideals, the way I want to approach embodying my values, and writing rules is a way so that you can actually live them and live by them. So that is principle rules, but we also have power rules. So these are to create balance. They are to help us sit in our zone of genius, to live by our capabilities and our abilities and our strengths, and help us find our focus and our direction. And so some of the rules for me, so the first one is think in frameworks.
I love that.
And that is really my new approach as well to every situation and the way I work in my coaching business, how I help my clients. And so it's not just embodying what I'm doing. These rules become part of my brand as well, which is helpful because then they are a guide. They help keep you on track and doing the things that you want to be doing. Another rule is one that I found through learning, is one that someone else said to me. Andrew Davis, he's an amazing speaker, and he had this whole presentation on this topic, and it was be a visionary, not an expert. And that changed my life, that rule. He doesn't approach it as being a rule, but I've taken it on as a rule so that I can live by that every day. So I'm not guiding myself to be an expert. I'm guiding myself to be a visionary and to think more like a visionary, to give my clients the tools rather than tell them what to do.
Yeah, I really love that. You can almost never be expert enough because you're always learning. And I see a lot of people in my program, we call it expert ease, getting comfortable with the fact that you're knowledgeable, you have great skills to share, but sometimes it can be limiting as well. So I love that idea of seeing yourself as a visionary.
Yeah, and that's what these rules are. They're my approach. Working in my zone of genius, like thinking frameworks is ideal for me because I'm a very logical thinker and I'm very good at seeing the bigger picture. So that is my approach to doing everything, but I can also use it as my approach to working with my clients. And the same with the be a visionary, not an expert. I think my clients should adopt that rule in a sense, because especially for a life coach, it's not about being the expert. It's about being the one that can help them find their own answers. So it's a great approach, really.
Yeah, in the Action Networking last month, I got people to, instead of introducing their business, introduce their vision. And it was so powerful. When people came back into the room afterwards, everyone was like, oh my gosh, I've got goosebumps. And they were so excited about what each other were trying to do. But if they had shown up and said, oh, I'm like Fifi and I'm a personal branding expert and I work with these people, they would have come back and said, oh yeah, that's nice. But they wouldn't have had that goosebumps. They wouldn't have had that energy and excitement for what happens when you share your vision. So I think you absolutely can be an expert, but having that vision and sharing that first is much more engaging. And you mentioned Simon Sinek, I think earlier, it comes back into his idea that when you have this why, you bring other people into that cause with you, people that align with what you're trying to achieve. And that's when the opportunities really start to flow. So I think that's a really exciting rule.
It's interesting to say that, because now we're going to look at purpose rules, but I want to share one last rule of my power rules, because I think this one might resonate with introverts, and that is to schedule at least one no people day every week. And that is one of my power rules, because for me to create balance, I need to ensure that I have my downtime and don't have a day where I have to be talking to clients all the time or be on email or messages. Like, I completely switch off on that day every week. So these rules are how you act, how you show up, and the actions you might take to help you be the best version of you and work in the best way for yourself.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be really fun to sit down and take that time to reflect on, well, what are your rules? How do you want to be seen? And to take the inspiration from your rules and say, well, do I resonate with that? What would I resonate with? What would help me become the person I need to be to reach this big vision that I have? Yeah. Who do I need to bring in, and what would help me attract those? What rules can I put around that? And how can I maintain my well-being and energy? And I love the idea of having a people-free day. I do try and do it each Friday. I don't schedule any meetings, and it doesn't always work, but when when it does, I feel great. And that's really the time when you can work on that vision, have that creative space, start to innovate within your business, have that freedom. And it feels amazing to have that space on a regular basis.
Interestingly, I do have another rule, which is cultivate creativity with curiosity. That's another one. So the final set of rules, so we had principle rules, power rules, and now we have purpose rules. And these are the rules that are your compass, your guide. And they go back to the belonging in the visibility pillars. And they are to figure out your purpose, your place, and your people. So one of mine is every experience is an opportunity to inspire. And this comes back to my purpose and how I want to show up and show up for my people. So it's kind of my directional purpose rule. Another one is lead by example and inspire others to take action.
Yeah, I think these rules are great, and you can really see how they are guiding your life, and this is how you're showing up. So I think they're wonderful. I like the purpose rules as well, that often we can question, am I doing the right thing? Am I in the right space? Yeah. And so these rules are going to really give people that bit of solidity, almost something like to ground them that, yes, I am doing this for a reason. It's not just a kind of whim or something nice to do.
Yeah, definitely. These purpose rules are the ones that just, that, like you say, ground, they guide you and encapsulates how you're going to put your purpose into action. And you could have rules here around how you approach that as well. I have one which is alludes to what you was just saying, create a safe and inclusive space where my people can feel comfortable. So that is one of my rules. And I have my Facebook group, my community, and the virtual summit. And these are places where I'm encouraging my people to explore ideas, learn, and figure themselves out in a safe, inclusive way. And so all of these rules, they encapsulate the way you're going to show up, what you want to stand for, and how you want to approach things. The problem I found in the past with working with clients on all of these things, because this is personal brand strategy, but it's taking it to the next level, because I found that my clients would do the work on themselves. They would figure out their values. They would work out who they were going to help. They would work out their messaging, but they didn't have a way to live by it. And this is my solution to that. I want my clients to encompass what they stand for. And the reason why this is going to help overcome self-silencing is because you get so crystal clear in what you stand for, what you believe in, how you're going to show up, who you're going to help, that you feel so much more confident, assertive, and know that you're doing the right things, going down the right path. And that makes it so much easier to show up, to share your opinions, your ideas, because you've done the work and now you're living it. So there's no way people can question you about it. So that is impact rules, and the powerful tool that can help you overcome self-silencing.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think it really is a great framework. You've ticked that one. But yeah, I think when we feel in alignment, we can live our purpose. And I love that these rules give some structure to explore that and live into it. And as you say, once you're in that position, you're rock solid. People can question it and it doesn't throw you off. It doesn't send you into this spiral of self-doubt thinking, oh, am I really allowed to say this? Or can I really be doing this? You know, yeah, I am doing this. So I think that's so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing it.
That's okay. I do have one final tip though, or bonus. So I have mentioned a few of my rules here, but I also use a lot of my impact rules as impact statements. And I will say them in podcast interviews. I talk about them on social media. So every experience is an opportunity to inspire is one of those that recently I did a YouTube video on, and it was all about overcoming perfectionism. And this was one of the impact statements that I said in that episode. And they are very sticky, kind of memorable statements that can be said and used as your approach, what you want your clients to encompass in some sense. So you can use your rules as impact statements, which is my bonus little tip.
Amazing. And so powerful as well. And when I was doing my marketing degree many years ago, we were talking about how you can own words and phrases and be known for that. And that builds this really incredible position in the marketplace. It's yours. So I think it's wonderful that you use these impact rules as statements as well that you can then become known for. So you're not just living into it, you're actually using it, and it's really weaving your values, I guess, through everything that you're doing, which I couldn't agree with more. That's everything that I'm about. So yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing how we can put this self-silencing well and truly behind us for good. Thank you so much. If people want to know more about your work, where's the best place for them to go?
You can go to fifimason.com/connect, where you'll find all of my social channels. I talk about lots of things like this on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn, or just, on my website.
Brilliant. Fifi, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Since recording this episode with Fifi, she has published her first book, Stop Self-Silencing, now available on Amazon. this week. And to go along with that, she has also released a quiz that you can take to find out what is holding you back. Where are you self-silencing? You can access that at hi.fifimason.com/self-silence quiz. And I'll put the link to that below in the show notes for you. If you are listening on the go, you can go to melittacampbell.com/podcast, search Fifi, and you will find her show notes page with that link on it. So thank you for joining us today. I hope you've really enjoyed this episode and are going to start looking at your impact rules and how that can help you show up the way that you want to, build that trust and consistency, and love the business and life and impact that you are having. Come along to the Dream Clients Club and let us know how you've been impacted by this episode. What are your takeaways? Where are you self-silencing? What are your impact rules? Let's continue that discussion over there. You'll find it at school.com, that's school with a K, and then just search Dream Clients Club and you'll find us there. If you have enjoyed this show and this episode, be sure to leave a review on iTunes and share this podcast episode with your network and business besties so they can grow alongside you too. And there are, of course, a lot more tools, tips, and insights coming up for you in the next episode. So don't miss next week's show, or better still, subscribe now so you never miss your weekly dose of inspiration. I'm Melitta Campbell, business coach, value whisperer, and founder of the Dream Clients Blueprint, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.